I'll fiddle with it.
Perfect. We are officially live. All right. Phil is running behind, so let me do the intro real quick. All right. Hey, everybody. It is Thursday evening. I am the Texas Garden Guy, and this is the Garden Party. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
I can hear you great.
Cool. Perfect. This is the Garden Party, and we want a garden party with you. We talk about the plants you grow and some things you might not know. The Garden Party. All right, Des, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm gardening with Des, back again on the podcast. Hanging out, waiting
Yeah,
on Des.
Anthony. Did you do it? Did you already introduce yourself? Sorry. Go
All
ahead,
right.
Des.
Go ahead. You can start again.
No, no, sorry, no, my bad. I usually Phil is going like as I put my headphones on, and so I didn't know what was going on. So Phil is running behind. Des has introduced yourself, and we've got Anthony, the millennial gardener, with us once again. Welcome, Anthony.
How you doing, everybody?
Let everybody know where you're from and what you do, man. Can you hear me?
I don't know
What
if he
happened?
heard you.
Did you hear me, Anthony?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead and introduce yourself. Sorry, I didn't know if you already did that or not.
Okay, sure. My
Sorry.
name's Anthony. I go by the Millennial Gardener on YouTube. I live down in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I just like talking about all things gardening.
That's
Yes.
awesome. So you're in Wilmington too? You live in the same city as Phil?
Yeah, Phil and I are actually going to dinner in a couple weeks.
Oh, that's crazy.
he lives he lives like 20 minutes from me. Yeah, he's come over a couple of times. I've been over to his house.
I knew y'all live close. I knew y'all were close. I didn't know y'all lived in the same city.
Yeah. He's on the other side. I'm on the west side of Wilmington, and he's kind of like on the northeast side. So you have to drive through the entire city. So it's like one of those things where it's like 8 miles, but it takes 30 minutes because you have to drive around the whole city and the airport and everything.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, I believe it. No, that's funny. I did not know that y'all live in the same city. That's hilarious. Um, man, it has been hot here in the Houston area. I'm sure it's been hot in Austin and hot in Wilmington.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been
man,
bad.
all right, I saw. I was laughing because I saw your video. Was it yesterday, Anthony? The it's getting so hot and dry that the possums are going for the figs, huh?
We actually had a break for a little bit. I know you guys in Texas have had no break at all this summer, but we had a really weird, maybe 10-day span where the temperatures dropped. But now the last few days, it's been like 96, 97 degrees, heat index around 110. So it's
Oh
been
my
pretty
God.
rough. It melted one of my flip flops. So I left them outside in the sun. So
No.
the little border that kind of goes around where the toes are, it actually warped and melted, and then it re unmelted during the night. So now it's all squiggly and messed up. It's like an S. So
It's an
flip flop.
unwearable flip flop now.
No, it's still totally wearable. It's just as long as you don't look down at my feet, it's not. They're just gardening flip flops, so I don't care. I don't wear them anywhere.
Yes.
I had a string of years where it was so hot that my rear view mirror kept falling off of my windshield.
Yes. Yes.
So
I
hot.
did.
It was 116 degrees here with the heat index like 2 Wednesdays ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite get that hot here.
Wait, hot.
It
Yeah.
can't. It's too humid here. It's like steam. Sometimes you can't see out any of your windows because there's so much humidity.
Hmm.
It's yeah, walking outside, it's like getting punched. You can't breathe
Absolutely.
sometimes.
Oh my gosh. Do you have to deal with like a lot of like fungal stuff with your plants because of the humidity?
It's almost impossible to grow anything susceptible to fungal diseases here in from the middle of June until end of September. It's almost
Yeah.
Hmm.
impossible. It
Yeah.
just everything dies unless it's just something that's either native or it just doesn't get those kinds of diseases.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Are your figs dealing with the rust right now? Are they going through the rust?
So I kind of learned years ago that figs actually so rust is an issue with underwatering. So if your figs are getting rust, it's because the figs aren't getting enough water. There is this misconception that figs are drought tolerant, but they actually aren't. Where they come from in the Mediterranean, they grow on these limestone shelves. So even though it's very hot there and it doesn't rain all summer, the roots are so spiderweb-like that they embed themselves in all of the limestone rock, and they suck out all of the water throughout the growing season.
Wow.
So when you live where we live, you're either on heavy clay or you're on sand. We don't have that limestone soil. They can't go more than maybe 5 to 7 days without water. So I learned years ago that you have to put drip irrigation in all of your fig containers and run them every single day. And if you go through a dry week, if you go 4 or 5 days in my sandy soil without without any rainfall in the summer, you have to run a soaker hose behind your trees and just let it run for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, if you keep them well watered, you won't get rust. If you are getting rust, it's an irrigation issue.
Wow.
Yeah. See, for me in the Houston area, like I'll get it every once in a while. It's not like I don't get it. Like every tree doesn't get it every year, but I do, have a irrigation system that waters every single day, so that I'm constantly watering. But I mean, it's not like if that I've had rust on a fig tree that it's killed the plant or anything. Usually the fig rust comes in, falls off, and it just produces new leaves. I mean, it's never been like a detriment to a fig tree for me, honestly.
Well, come the end of the year, I mean, come September, you're going to start getting rust no matter where you live, just because the natural drop cycle of the deciduous leaves, they're just going to get weak and they're going to become susceptible to things. So it's inevitable and it's fine because the leaves are going to fall anyway. The problem is if you're getting rust in June or July or early August, that you need to work. It's an irrigation and a mulching issue.
Yeah.
If you start getting it in September, it doesn't matter. Who cares at that point? It's not, by that point, you're pretty much at the point where you're harvesting anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what I found anyway.
No, it makes sense. And I know a lot of people will use like copper fungicide and say like that. I've never used copper fungicide for anything really. But people will say to use that whenever there's rust, but I've never really even used it before. Have you even messed with copper fungicide before?
Not for figs. There's no need to do that. There's no need to ever spray a fig tree. They can be grown as organically as possible. If you're having an issue with rust, it's 100% an irrigation problem. They're just getting too dry. For things like tomatoes or peaches or apples, that's a different story. There's just, if you're trying to grow them in Texas or in the Carolinas or Florida or in the Gulf areas, you're going to have to spray them with some kind of preventative copper. They just don't belong growing here. So
yeah,
you're just
that's so true.
Yeah, you'll just be fighting them.
It's getting worse every year.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I use fungicide on zinnias. Or
really?
zinnias. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They
have powdery mildew on them, and I'll spray it on the leaves. I mean, it doesn't really do enough, to be honest. I use it sometimes on squash leaves, but really, I don't know.
Huh. Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
I get it on the zucchini really badly, but the way I found is to just sow more seed every 6 weeks. And then when the old plants start getting the powdery mildew, you just rip them out. You throw them in the woods.
Throw it in the woods. I love it.
I don't even bother growing a zucchini. If a zucchini has been 60 days after transplant, it's done. Just replace it. Yeah.
Yeah. So after you do your zucchini in the spring, you're transplanting. Are you direct seeding the succession planting, or are you doing more transplant every couple weeks?
It depends on my mood.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm running an experiment where I'm trying to grow about 10 of this variety of zucchini that's supposed to be parthenocarpic, and it's supposed to produce zucchini without pollination. So I have 2 beds planted out of it and totally under insect netting. So I'm trying to see if I can grow zucchini without hand pollinating and keep all the vine borers and all the squash bugs away, And so far, I have these big plants, and I don't see one zucchini anywhere. So I think that I don't know if it's my climate, but so far, the experiment is not working out.
Was what variety is it?
It is called Sure Thing, and it has not been a sure thing. Now, in its defense, it does say it's for places that get cool weather, cloudy days, growing inside greenhouses. Maybe it's just too hot where I live, and that's why it's not working. Maybe I need to find something heat tolerant, but so far, huge letdown unless something changes.
Yeah.
I sorry.
Oh,
I
yeah.
did not plant any squash in the spring this year because like every single spring I feel like I plant it and then I have like a ton of squash vine borders. But I did direct seed some squash like a week ago. And I'm hoping that with this rain that we have coming through, it'll start to germinate. And I want to see what'll happen for like a fall crop here because those darn squash vine borders are a lot. They don't, some years I
You
just don't get any.
Are you in Austin?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
you don't get frost until when? Thanksgiving ish?
Oh,
Well,
December probably.
actually, we just jumped a zone higher. So now we were 8B, now we're 9A. So, I mean, you could push that back into December some,
Yeah.
honestly. Like 2 Decembers ago, I was harvesting tomatoes still.
Mm.
It was wild.
Yeah. See, I was thinking, I was thinking it was a little early to put out squash, and so because I had a terrible squash harvest this year.
Mm.
My thought process, because I always have issues with squash transplants. Anything of the cucurbit family is kind of a pain to transplant because the tubes are, they're hollow. So if you crease them or bend them, the transplants don't make it. Sometimes. So I was like, okay, I'll wait till the last frost and then I'll direct seed and see how they do. Well, I had a lot of squash come up, but it got hot really quick, and I just didn't get hardly any squash out of it or zucchini. So I'm thinking here in mid-September, I'm going to go ahead and plant some seeds in some seed trays, get them going, and transplant them. Same with the tomatoes. I'm going to do some fall tomatoes, but I'm probably going to wait till middle of September. That way, by beginning of October, middle October, I can start transplanting.
Anthony, when is your average first frost date?
Usually it's about November 10th. We'll usually get hit. It's usually so light and patchy though that if you cover things, we often won't get another one for a couple weeks. So if you can cover for the first frost or maybe the second, sometimes you can go all the way until the middle of December before you'll get a real hard freeze.
Yeah.
We get those really, really patchy frosts here.
Yeah. Do you do do you do another round of tomatoes for fall planting?
I did just actually plant some big transplants yesterday. They got way too big. I wanted to plant them 2 weeks ago, but we just got this nightmare of a 95-degree. Well, first we had that hurricane, so I couldn't plant it. We got 17 inches of rain, so that messed that all up. Then we went to a string of 96, 97-degree days, so I couldn't plant then. So they're like this big, but
Wow.
we'll take.
You also put shade cloth up, right?
Yeah, these I didn't put under shade cloth. I think we're finally getting to the point. After tomorrow, it's supposed to drop into the 80s, and then it shows us in this cloudy, rainy pattern for 2 weeks. And then after that, it's not going to matter. It'll be cool enough. So I think that the terrible heat here is done.
Yeah. Here, I think I'm about to take them down.
Yeah, I waited a while to put mine up. Last year I put it up way too early, and my tomatoes just didn't do great. This year I put it up probably in May. I let it get to like the high 90s before I put it up. I think putting it up too early last year, I dwarfed my plants, not getting enough heat, not getting enough sunlight. But what I did find out this year was kind of cool is that so usually I transplant from from seed starting trays to like a 3-inch pot or a 4-inch pot, and then I usually go directly into the ground. This year I did a little experiment where I went from those little 3 or 4-inch pots and I put them in 1 gallons and let them get pretty big and transplant them like in late April, early May. And I thought they weren't going to transplant well, but they did really well. I was really surprised how long I was able to keep them in containers and baby them before actually planting them in the ground. I was surprised.
I've always found with tomatoes that the bigger the transplant, the faster they fruit.
Really?
Yeah, I really have. Some people say just put a small transplant in, they'll catch up because it'll be less shock. I haven't found that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big
Yeah,
transplants. I love
Yeah.
them.
I think I'll do at least half-gallon pot transplants next year, and I'll probably start a little earlier. Usually in this part of and I know people in Houston who start their tomato seeds on Christmas Eve, like they start their indoors. That way, by mid-March, you can put your tomatoes out. With my greenhouse, I can start them even a little bit earlier. So I think I'm definitely gonna do that, and I'm really gonna try. I didn't get the dwarf tomato varieties until later on in the spring, so I really want to try those out like from the beginning of seed starting time and see how they go. Because I got some good success, but I think it was just too hot by the time I started those, got them going.
You guys in Texas have to get a couple of dwarf tomato project tomatoes and start the seeds now and put them in some 5-gallon grow bags and grow them in the winter, and then just cart them in if it's going to freeze. Because I'm telling you, they're going to do so well in a Texas winter as long as you bring them in on the cold nights.
Oh,
I
yeah.
actually just like right now, I have a whole hydroponic grow system of dwarf seedling tomato plants that are about to be
Nice.
transplanted from that into some coco coir, and then we'll uppot them in a couple of weeks. Um,
They're great.
the orange hat, so they don't get like bigger than yay tall, really, and then
Oh,
they just
wow.
keep producing these delicious orange tomatoes. They're so good. So I'm excited about that.
It's so much easier to grow because you're not going to have any of the pests. You're not going to have to worry about the fungal diseases. They're all going to be dormant. The only thing you have to do, put them in a garden cart and just cart them into your garage if it's going to freeze. That's the most work you have to do. It's great.
Yeah, I might try that out because I've got the greenhouse. I mean, I don't heat my greenhouse to like 80 degrees and anything like that. I just keep my greenhouse at like 50 degrees or whatever. So like just warm enough for my tropical stuff to survive the winter. So I can probably leave them in the greenhouse and just be fine.
How much yard size do you both have?
I think yours is bigger than mine, Des.
Yeah, I'm on a corner lot. I have nearly a quarter of an acre, and I have chickens and everything.
wow.
Yeah, so I have a big pollinator garden, and I have a big vegetable garden, a greenhouse, chickens. I do all native and adapted plants. It's a lot of fun. I can grow, but I did not this year, at least 56 feet of tomatoes just in the raised garden beds that I have. And I have a couple of years ago, I did do that. But then I had a massive mealybug explosion, and I have seriously been trying to figure out what I'm going to do about that without spraying like a pyrethrin or something like that on everything. So I don't know.
Pests were crazy this year. I had the army worms worse than I've ever had them. I had army worms really terrible, and right now I'm dealing with. I can't figure out whether it is woolly aphids or white flies. Like they're I think it's the woolly aphids, but they were all over my hibiscuses. They killed one of my hibiscus plants. They were all over my tomatoes.
What?
They're little white. I thought they were white flies. And then I think I Googled it. I looked a little closer, and I think they were what you call woolly aphids.
Mm-hmm.
Really strange. I'd never seen. Every year it's something different. It's something different every year. But
Aphids are mealybugs and aphids are notorious for hibiscus, unfortunately.
yeah, they killed one of my hibiscuses. It was not cool. And I tried everything under the book, organic, inorganic, and I could not get rid of them. So hopefully all this rain will scare them off, but I feel it's going to have the opposite effect.
Did you try insecticidal soap?
I did. And I typically mix in insecticidal soap every time I spray. I mix it in as a surfactant, as for my neem oil and stuff like that.
What time of day did you spray?
I only spray like late in the evening. Yeah, because during the day you would walk out in the backyard, and this is just like last week. You'd walk out in the backyard and it looked like it was snowing almost. Like there was little Oh, it's nuts. It was crazy. Not like a blizzard, but like there was little flurries, and there were those little woolly aphids. And yeah, I'm about to do some more research into them because I could see them.
Hibiscus in the trash. Do not keep it. You need to get rid of it.
Yeah,
If it's not like, sometimes you got to choose your battles. Don't be like me. Get rid of it.
Yeah, no, it moved a little bit towards. I tried a bunch of different things to try to get rid of them, and it moved to some of my tomatoes. It moved to some of my Texas sage. Typically, when you get an infestation like that, it's usually they only go to like sickly plants. You know, they typically only go to sickly, like dying plants. But they did some damage on my hibiscus. But if all else fails, it's supposed to stop raining like in a week and a half. So I do have the final solution if I need to. But I don't want to have to use it in the garden. Hey, no, Malathon.
Oh,
I don't like using non-organic stuff, but in the worst case scenario, I might have to use something. Mr. Phil,
I made it. Configliere.
You look so fancy. Where did you just come from?
I was at a Wilmington event. It was a 5-course paired meal. I got a babysitter and everything, guys. I'm freaking out. It was amazing. Over at Casablanca Coffee, she's trying to do some dinners, and it was a wine pairing with some awesome dishes. I had ratatouille. It was amazing. So sorry on the delay, everyone. I was like, Grace, when can we go? Can we pull this off? And here I am.
Man, you're really going hard now that you found that babysitter.
I know, dude.
You lost time.
You have no idea.
You're jamming like 4 years worth of dinners into a 6-week period.
Exactly. I am pent up on date nights with my wife.
Dude, hey, more power to you. I didn't know you. So I knew y'all were close. I didn't know y'all lived in the same city.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Actually, I was doing the mapping and stuff too. Like, Anthony is actually like closer to downtown than I am, just because of where our proximity to things. But he's just across the Cape Fear River, out that ways, and I'm bumped up against the coast, but like kind of north of the city a little bit. But yeah, I made it.
It's like the fig capital of the world. Like the fig capital of the U.S. is like right there in North Carolina. It seems like.
Anthony, can we make it that?
Yeah, if you want to grow beautiful fig trees where 80% of the crop is lost from rain and sour flies
and squirrels.
If you like growing 50 fig trees and only getting 5 trees worth of figs, move to Wilmington, where you get 17 inches of rain in a week.
One of us here is an optimist.
Which is it's funny. I've never seen y'all side by side before, and y'all look like y'all could be related.
Oh gosh, is it because Keston? Is it because we're Italian?
Everybody with a buzzed head looks the same.
That's exactly.
Oh, I imagine I feel. Imagine I'm a fat guy with a beard. Imagine how I feel. You know.
No, we don't look anything alike. I think Phil's a foot taller than me.
No.
Yeah, I know. I think he's a foot taller than me too. We ordered because Phil bought his ticket. He's coming October 3rd, and this will be his room while he stays. And we actually ordered a futon, like pull-out bed, to replace this couch, so he has a place to sleep when he comes.
Oh, you have to do that.
So, like, I was thinking about how tall is Phil when I was ordering the futon. I was like, "Is this long enough?" I was like, "I think he's like 6'1" or something." So I think we should be good.
Nah, I'm 5'11" and change.
Oh, you're only 5'11"? I thought you were taller than that.
I'm so short. Nobody cares.
I've met you in person. I know how tall you are.
I am very short. You're tall, Destin, compared to me.
No, wait, no, I'm no.
Yes.
But thank you. I appreciate
it. Des.
Yeah,
what about you see my fennel with my caterpillars on it?
Commented. I did.
Oh.
You have 12 butterfly caterpillars.
I'm so excited because like I have like the chrysalis that hatched is still up there, and my kids are over the moon stoked that I have this like phaneroikia that's just growing. But
Fennel is a superstar. I put it in a like part shaded area. It's getting a lot of diffuse sunlight from like some planters and things in the patio,
Uh-huh.
and it's doing really well in this one just random raised bed I have, and it has raised so many butterflies this year. I mean, I don't
Oh man.
I just leave it for the butterflies, but it's going nuts. I've had so many generations of swallowtail out of it. I've also got queen butterfly caterpillars right now, variegated Gulf fritillary, and zebra longwing caterpillars out there at the moment.
Those are hard to find.
Zebra
You
longwing?
see those everywhere.
The zebra longwings are so cool. I actually have a specimen up there that I picked up from the yard that I pinned. Um, and it was like, this is the first year that I've actually noticed those butterflies on my plant. I was like, oh my gosh, so cool.
That's exciting.
That's awesome.
Well, now that we got Phil in the chat, we'll answer some questions, and we got Anthony here, so who I know he has an opinion on this. I'm sure. This is from Blue Sage. She says, I just got 2 containers for veggies, about 4x6x3. Should I put logs in the bottom or not? I see mixed views. This is, I guess, the hugelkultur method. I'm sure we all have some mixed views on this. Let Anthony start off. Anthony, do you do any kind of hugelkultur?
No, because my raised beds are too shallow to do so. The answer to that question is probably going to be a hard maybe, because it's going to be highly dependent on both what you're filling the raised beds with and what your climate is like. So here where I live in the Wilmington area, because we get about 70 inches of rain a year, it's really risky to put a whole bunch of stuff to hold moisture at the bottom of your raised beds, because our problem is we often get too much rain. So if you live in a climate with very dry summers, maybe you're out west or you're in the inland south where it doesn't rain a lot, and you find yourself having to irrigate your beds a lot, it's a good method because you will be storing water at the bottom of your beds. If you live in a location where rain is the enemy and you're already having an issue with too much water, or you have heavy soil and the soil holds too much water, it actually works against you, because that whole hugelkultur method, that was for gardeners in the Alps that were growing on the side of a mountain. So what they found was all of the water was rushing away and their soil could not hold any water because of the slope. So the point was to catch water because they couldn't hold any living on an incline.
Like a swale.
Yeah, so it was a method of trying to exactly create a swale and then have the water saturate the ground and stay put. So you have to really think carefully as to whether that's beneficial. Another strategy may be, if you have a lot of raised garden beds, to do it to half of your beds and not the other half. That way you'll have some beds that'll hold water for the crops that want it, or you can use them in the winter or in the dry season and then use your other beds when it's raining a lot, so they'll drain more. So it can be very beneficial. If it were me, if I were doing this all over again and I had tall raised beds, I probably would do it in half and not the other half, and then use the beds that hold water for things like tomatoes that really would enjoy it, but not necessarily do it for other crops that wouldn't like that, if that makes sense. So you really have to do the math there and consider your own individual situation, because it's a very individual decision.
Well, and in my experience, I've done the hugelkultur stuff, and putting like big logs, depending on how deep your bed is, it takes a long time for those logs to break down. Now you can do like a hugelkultur method without putting the logs. Like you can do wood chips. Like I've done mulch at the bottom of my beds to help with filling it up. Obviously it's going to sink. The soil is going to sink faster. That's another thing to think about. You're going to top your beds off faster. But I don't do the logs anymore. What about you, Des?
No, I'll put like maybe a couple sticks or something in the bottom, but also carpenter ants can be an issue. If you have carpenter ants in your area, those wood chips will attract them. They'll go into the bottom of the bed and they can be kind of problematic. Just red ants too, with having so much wood in the bottom of your garden bed. And honestly, I feel like it's not worth it to me to put the logs in the bottom of the beds anymore. Like I did do that a couple of times, but I don't feel like it was beneficial enough, and I would rather have the root space for my actual beds, if you ask me.
It's tough on root crops. If you
Yeah. Well, it depends on what you're gonna. It always depends in gardening, though, right? Like it just depends on,
Circumstantial, yeah.
yeah, what you're trying to grow, where you're trying to grow it, how you're trying to grow it, like what is your motivation for growing, all of that.
I did notice the bed said they were 3 feet deep, though. So even if you did it on the bottom foot, you could still have 2 feet of whatever soil you wanted.
Hmm.
My beds are only 7.5 inches deep, so
yeah.
if I having 3 feet would be just a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a 30-inch like round bed, and I did the whole half of it in logs. And yeah, it helps to fill it up fast. Then after you water, you can go transplant something, and you start watering, and the soil sinks into every little crevice. And so it's almost like you can't do anything with that bed until like after like at least one season of watering it really well, because the soil just washes out on it. So
'Cause you got to follow like the subsidence to see where it falls into the cracks.
yeah, because I mean, you got to top it off. Like if you can do that, cover it with soil, shake it as much as you want, tap it. But after you start watering, the water is going to wash all that soil into every little crevice, and then you're going to top that bed off so quick. It's so I use mulch. I do mulch if I'm going to do it. Don't use grass clippings because you'll have grass growing out of your beds.
I
But
don't,
yeah.
if I can, I also don't necessarily recommend using wood chips or mulch in your raised beds too, depending on your climate, because they can end up turning your garden bed into a solid mass, which is why I also say like I see a lot of newer gardeners, they'll like use wood chip mulch as their mulch on top of their vegetable gardens, and I don't really think that that's the best tactic either. I think it's better to use something like rice hulls or straw, like seeding straw or like something along those lines, in my opinion.
So
Pine
you're
straw.
saying like when you add logs like that, you're kind of like you're suffocating everything. You're reducing that like porosity and aeration. All of a sudden, you get this like thick mass that's as it breaks down stays thick and massive.
Well, yes, but also wood holds water.
Right? Yeah, that too.
But something around here that's kind of weird. Remember that bug I showed you guys last time I was on? So something I
Hmm.
noticed, like if you're so we have these ox beetle grubs that are amazing composters, and they only really feed on dead, dying, decaying matter and like wood and stuff like that. They're excellent composters. I started putting a ton of, I had put some of my chicken bedding in the very bottom of the beds, because it's not really ready. It's still hot compost, you want it in the bottom. And I noticed that these huge ox beetle grubs loved it in there. And they do bite. So maybe you don't want to add that kind of thing in there either, because you don't want to necessarily encourage these
You guys
huge.
have some terrible bugs in Texas.
Yeah, I actually have bugs
The
sitting right
Texas side.
Yeah.
They're just meaner. I think we have a whole lot more of them here, Phil, but they're not as mad. They're
Yes.
like we have a lot more bugs, but they're kind of like, yeah, we're just gonna
See,
put
look what
little
Des is
holes in your
holding.
tomatoes. We're not gonna like bite you or anything.
Oh yeah, man.
They're just
That's
kind of a
so
nuisance. Oh
That's
man.
it.
Actually, Anthony, I was going to ask about. I
That's
saw that
smart.
that opossum you got, and it
No.
looks so chill that you caught in your trap. But I'm like, are you done using that trap? Because I will take that trap for my squirrels. I could borrow it maybe.
Nail me those squirrels.
You know what the problem was, and I feel so bad about this. I shouldn't even be saying this on camera, but obviously that possum, it was coming around for a while at night, so that possum probably went in the trap overnight. And see, normally we let Dale out first thing in the morning, but that morning we didn't do it because we took him to play care to hang out with his
Got it.
friends and play a little bit. So I didn't go out in the garden until maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. and it was in there, and that poor guy was probably sitting in the sun for like, beating on it for 3 hours, and that's why it was so relaxed. It wasn't relaxed. It was probably like, oh, this is terrible.
That's what I was thinking.
When I came out, I was like, look how chill this thing is. I was like, this thing is just taking a nap. It's like, hey.
I had that trap out for a week because I knew it was there, and it never went in, and it picked the one day we took Dale to play care, so we didn't go out first thing to check the trap. And I felt so terrible. I tried to give it some water out of the hose. I was trying to give it something to drink.
Oh, buddy.
So but,
that's exactly what I thought when I saw the video. I was like, why is this? It looks really hot. And it's just like,
it was kind of like, let me out of here. I felt so bad. Of all the days to catch a possum, it had to be that one day. But
yeah,
we took him out and we let him in. He was all right.
It seems like you had the same exact situation that I did, where it wasn't that you were like upset that the possum was stealing the figs. I mean, everything steals the figs. It was having altercations with your dog, which was what happened with me.
That's the problem. About a year ago, we had a night where Dale is a hound, so he sniffs everywhere at all times, and if there's anything, he gets any scent in the yard, he loses his mind, and that's all he wants to do is find who the perpetrator is. And last year, he did find a possum, and they decided to get in a standoff at about 11:30 p.m.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so it's just. I don't want an issue where I don't want Dale to hurt the possum. I don't want the possum to hurt Dale. I don't want the possum to eat my entire fig tree in one single night, which it can and will do. So I don't want anything bad to happen to the possum. If you were a possum, you came across one of our yards with all this stuff growing, wouldn't you stay and come back every single night too?
Yeah.
The possum would be stupid for not coming back every night. So,
I think possums get a bad rap because they don't have the prettiest smile. But if they were like fluffier and kinder, I think we would cut them a lot more slack too.
Yeah.
They are cute. They are. If you double tap one possum video on Instagram, your entire feed will go purely possum videos. And so now I get it all the time. And like, they are super cute. I had to relocate the one I had because I didn't want my dog to kill it. I really did not want my dog to hurt the possum. I'd have felt terrible. And my dog jumped up on the fence, grabbed him off the fence, and then I go outside, hear him screaming, and the possum's on my dog's back, and Duke's just running. He's a big German Shepherd too. He's huge.
My gosh!
And then I see the possum laying on the ground, like playing dead. He's like, I'm like, okay, it's time to go. It's time to go. So, yeah. It's bound to happen though. Wildlife and humans.
Crisis averted on the Millennial Gardener Garden opossum.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be more. Now I found 2 bunnies, so there's mine over the 2 bunnies.
Everything. So
I have a turtle that I don't know how it gets in and out of my fence.
They can burrow, dude.
Yeah, well, we've named it Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, and because he'll just disappear for months, and he'll just show up one day. It's like, hey, I was like, where have you been? He's like, where? I've been here this whole time.
Is it like a water turtle or like a box turtle?
He's a box turtle or like a box turtle.
Y'all actually have those up there. We don't have those really in Texas. The box turtles.
Oh yeah, we
box turtles and alligators. That's what we
box
have.
turtles. We do have the red-eared sliders. If you go to like the swamps and stuff, you'll see them too.
That's mostly what we have. Yeah, I had a box turtle as my first pet. It make really good pets. They're pretty cool, but they will burrow out. They dig like crazy. So they'll go right under your fence, man. He's going in and out. He's probably got. If you walk around your fence, he's probably got a little spot where he goes in and out. But I mean, how much damage is he causing though?
None. I haven't seen him in like 6 months.
Okay.
He disappears and pops up. That's why he's like a spiritual creature of my like yard.
That's not a pest then.
No, it's not a pest. I just asked you a turtle. I was like,
well, are we sure this turtle exists, or did you just imagine it after a couple glasses of Pinot?
If it was 6 months ago, he didn't have a babysitter, so he probably wasn't out.
It's not Pinot. It's called sleep deprivation. No. My kids were out there. We were all just checking them out because the turtle isn't outrunning anything, especially children. So
Man. No, I highly encourage everyone to follow Garden State Tortoises. He is up in New Jersey, and he has like a box turtle tortoise sanctuary, and he does cool videos. And like box turtles have these crazy eyes, so like they're super like comical. It's hilarious. But his Instagram is hilarious,
That's cute.
and that's kind of up in y'all's area a little bit.
For Texas distances.
Yeah, it's true. Everything is up there. Y'all are just up there. We don't know. Like
Justin's like, oh yeah, you could just like zip up to New Jersey. I'm like, it's like 8 hours. He's like, Texas takes 10 hours to get across.
No,
Well, that's why I was laughing where Anthony was saying that you're on the other side of Wilmington and it takes y'all 30 minutes. It's like, dude, it takes me like 2 hours to drive from one side of Houston to the other. It is so crazy. It's insane.
same here.
This is why I moved away from the big city. I lived in Philly for 13 years. I'm done with when there's more concrete than there is soil. I'm done.
Yeah, I
Can't do it again.
I gotta remember to wear my Astros hat next time you're here on the podcast.
Destin, are you on Wi-Fi? You're frozen up, or is it?
Yeah, you're frozen on me too.
Am I frozen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you just moved.
You're back now.
What the hell?
Pixelated.
Sorry. What's hilarious
What's that?
is
He's gone.
You do that on purpose.
I don't know if this is a joke. Oh, there he is.
Okay,
wait.
you're back.
Weird.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
froze again.
Close out of LimeWire. It's using too much bandwidth.
it's what I get for talking crap about the Phillies. It happened right when I said something about the Phillies.
I was
Did
just,
Big Brother do something to you?
You dropped out. We never heard anything about the Phillies.
Oh, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
sorry.
you're good now. You're back in focus. Everything's good.
Okay. Dude, it's just so funny. I don't know what happened because I was having issues streaming after I moved to this new software, this StreamYard. I bought it's a reel with an Ethernet cable, and I can run it from my office to the router in the living room every time I'm going to stream, and then I disconnect it and reel it back up. And so I'm not even on Wi-Fi right now. I don't know what's going on.
Everything's big in Texas except for the bandwidth.
Exactly, man. Y'all have I don't have fiber or anything.
I do.
Oh, Desmond's got fiber.
So great. It's
Yeah.
so great.
You're in Austin. It's basically Los Angeles.
What?
I say you're in Austin. It's basically Los Angeles now.
Shush.
We have AT&T fiber here, and it's great. It's great.
No, it's a problem. I got to get it fixed. But I wanted to talk about y'all's fall gardening. So we talked about fall gardening a little bit, but we didn't talk about fall like orchard planting, like tree planting. Are you planning on planting any more trees this fall, Anthony? Any more fig trees in the ground or anything like that?
Well, I kind of have a problem. I had a couple of trees kind of die on me. So
Oh no!
two of the trees that I planted, new bare root trees, back in last February. Well, the 17 inches of rain caused a bunch of them to wilt.
Mhm.
It was just too much. So the roots weren't strong enough. So I had to dig up two of them and I moved them into containers. And they dropped all their leaves. I don't know if they're going to come back or not. I don't know. They're still springy and pliable, but we'll see. And I had my first established tree ever die on me. And of all things, it's the pawpaw. The one thing that's actually native that I'm growing is the tree that dies for no reason. And it's coming back from the roots. So the root stock is fine. But I don't know why. The scion just decided, hey, I'm going to die now. So now I have one pawpaw tree and no pollinator. So, and nobody's selling pawpaw trees right now. So I don't know if I should just let the rootstock grow and see if it'll fruit. If I should get another grafted tree, I don't know. But yeah, I'm minus 3 trees right now. So I'm in a sticky situation.
Oh, that was good fun. I think it's been tough here because we had such a hot, dry period in the beginning of our summer, and it was like wet as could be. And now we're like exiting that, and we had this like 2 crazy like differences, and we're coming out of it. There's no consistency. and so you just had like additional stresses from both sides of it, and it definitely like crapped out a lot of trees. I haven't lost any trees, but that's weird about the pawpaw. But I also didn't know you were like you had grafted on top of rootstock of pawpaw, just because I think that there's like they're so straightforward in my brain, and maybe I don't know enough about pawpaws.
Well, pawpaws haven't really had a lot of development efforts in them, since not many people know what a pawpaw really even is, since you can't buy them anywhere. So
can you talk about them a little more, like what a pawpaw? I've seen a picture before. I don't know much about them though.
So
off the beaten path nursery, he goes wild pawpaw hunting in like outside the DC area, and he'll go out into the woods in this time of year and later.
He digs up saplings or something?
No, he harvests fruit. He just collects fruit.
Oh, okay.
So pawpaws are the largest fruited native fruit to the United States. They grow all the way from roughly Tallahassee to southern Ontario, and they go as far west as roughly the Mississippi River, kind of sort of like where things dry out. What's that, like the 100th parallel or something, where we go from humid to arid? So roughly that span. They are a close relative to the custard apple, but they're the only similar fruited relative of the custard apple that is actually frost tolerant. So the custard apple and the sugar apple, the sour apple, they are all very tropical, while pawpaws are hardy to about zone 4. So believe it or not, it was actually George Washington's favorite fruit. So it's kind of like a cross between a banana, a mango, and a custard apple. They kind of look like
they're like big and green and like kidney shapes. And they have
big black seeds in them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're called the Appalachian banana because they taste very similar to a banana apple, but they grow in Appalachia. So it was George Washington's favorite fruit. Recent discovery when everybody emigrated here in the 1700s, they found them growing wild all over the place, and obviously there was no such thing as ice cream back then because there was no such thing as refrigerators or freezers. So their version of ice cream back in the colonial days was to take pawpaws, because they ripened in September and October, and leave them outside to be really cold, and then they would scoop them out, and it was similar to ice cream. So it was basically like Revolutionary War ice cream. So that is
I didn't know that.
That is the history of the pawpaw in the United States. That's about all I know. And it's the only thing I've grown that straight up died on me.
Wow. Because I've seen them grow in the wild, in the woods. Like I've seen them outside. I went hiking in Virginia, and I've seen them out there. I've seen them in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area near my in-laws' house, and like they're out there. Yeah.
It's so funny. They're like, everybody like so picky on going native, and sometimes growing the native stuff is harder than anything else. Like it seems like the more native I try to go, the worse off they kind of take.
You know why? It's like here in Central Texas, we have the Blackfoot daisy is like one perennial plant that we have, and they will literally come up in between the cracks of rocks, and you could never water them, never even look at them, and they will be floribundant and beautiful and wonderful. But the second you put them in any soil with any type of fertilizer in it, soil, not dirt, they just can't handle it. They hate it. They're just mad about it. And sometimes the natives, they just know best, and we try to control that, and we're just like, hey, no, like I know, I'm a gardener, I know what I'm talking about. Go in this dirt that you should be able to survive in this. And they're like, no, I really would rather be over here in the crack of the highway.
Yeah.
See, that's specifically what's making me so mad about this pawpaw, because I've specifically neglected them. I've done nothing. They're the only trees in my yard that I haven't touched because they're natives. They established 3 years ago, and I don't do anything. I don't fertilize them. I don't water them. All I do is put down mulch to keep the weeds away. I do nothing. And it's the one tree that died on me. Go figure.
That's hilarious.
It was like, I'll show you.
And it's the only thing I'm growing that requires cross-pollination. So
I know. It's like, yeah. Hopefully the rootstock gives you something.
Yeah, I'll tell you in 7 years.
I know that's the downside. That's probably why you graft it, because they take so long
Yes.
to fruit.
Well,
What?
I specifically paid, the $70 for the tree. Oh yeah, 1 pound fruit, almost seedless, 96% flesh, best flavor. And
If
I'll
it
probably get
lives.
some little prickly pear out of the seedling.
What rootstock was it on? Do you know, or is it just?
They grow the seed, so it's just seed grown.
Oh, okay.
So they plant pawpaws are apparently almost impossible to root from cutting, and they don't grow true to type. So the only thing you can really do to clone them is to plant a seed and then graft onto it.
Oh Lord.
Even with cross pollination, really.
Well, that's why they're all cross pollinated. So they're all hybrids. They're all F1s.
That's so crazy.
That's so interesting. Thank you for teaching us about this.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Don't look to me for advice. Apparently I can't grow them. So
Who killed the most plants? That is my motto. Seriously, it's
That's
true.
all of our mottos. I was literally talking to people at dinner about food. I'm like, in my office too. I was like, I've killed more plants than all of you combined.
Yeah, be the Green Reaper.
Unfortunately.
Figure out how not to,
But no, Anthony, you told me this too. Like, especially with fig cuttings, like they just become sticks. We're just pruning our trees. If they don't make it, they just become sticks. So everything's an opportunity.
That's true.
Figs are luckily tough to kill unless you get the ambrosia beetle. It's the only thing that kills a fig.
And see, we don't deal with that at all. I don't mean, not that I'm aware of. We're so lucky.
I've seen it. It's like a kiss of death, and you're like, this isn't happening. And then it was like shunk.
The reason why you don't see it is because the ambrosia beetle, I believe, was imported on Hilton Head Island from overseas. So it started. Turns out they had a great flavor for the red bay tree, which grows all over the Carolinas. That's the one that kind of looks like a live oak, but it's smaller. They're all over here. They're evergreen. They're nice trees, but it got here and it started spreading out from, I think, Hilton Head. So it's worked its way down south to Georgia and up north through the Carolinas. So don't worry, you'll eventually get it. It just hasn't made it there yet.
Give it time. Hey, give it time. Everything makes its way to Texas eventually.
It's like the spotted lanternfly. It hasn't made it here yet, but I heard that they found it out west in western North Carolina.
I think there have been some sightings.
Did they really? Oh my gosh! Like hearing that from like my friends and family in like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and they're like, it's just like everywhere.
But that's how it's spreading, though, because it attaches itself onto cars from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and then it rides its way down here into the Outer Banks for vacation and over to Asheville to go hiking.
Oh no!
I think that's where they found it, in the Asheville area. So don't worry, it'll get here too.
Oh my gosh, it's like the zebra mussel.
The zebra mussel. That's a rough one. That's a freshwater one, right?
It's a freshwater mussel that is so invasive, and it just attaches itself to the hulls of like boats. Like people are out boating and they don't wipe down the hull of their boat after they get out, and then they go and they throw their boat into another lake, and it just propagates itself that way. And the other day my husband showed me a picture of, I think it was one of the Great Lakes, honestly, that had, it looked like a sandy beach, but it was just solid zebra mussels. And we have a problem here. Yeah, we do. And they've like clogged up waterways here, and it's just terrible.
Really?
It's like it's just nature's way of propagating itself, because there are some seeds that are like burrs on purpose because they attach themselves to the fur of animals to transport themselves around.
Right.
But it's a frustrating consequence of nature's will.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Pretty sure pretty soon it's just going to be Pangea all over again. It's going to be, everything is going to exist on every continent, and everything's just going to start all over again from scratch.
Yeah.
Well,
don't read the depressing book, The Sixth Extinction. But it's about how we're currently in an extinction phase right now. Like, so if you hear of like hybridization between like coyotes and wolves, and you hear about other hybridizations, that's kind of a signal that like specific speciation is a sign of like prolific life, and hybrids is a sign of like a consolidation. It's just a sign of extinction. So
that makes sense. Honestly, that makes sense. Yeah, I've seen the koi wolves before. I've seen the pictures of those. Have you seen the cross between a grizzly bear and a polar bear?
Well, that's the good news is that those are subspecies. So polar bear can't actually be its own species of bear. But yeah, you can have a hybrid and they're still fertile, unlike like
Yeah.
a mule, like between a horse and a donkey.
It's so crazy. Yeah.
But that's
No,
me
for sure.
nerding out.
I love it.
As soon as she mentioned muscles, I was like, "Oh, here we go, Phil."
No, I love this. It's like my favorite thing. I could nerd out forever. Like, how far can we go?
But we're getting sunny weather here, and I'm getting some figs, and they're good. Like this
yeah.
Socorro Black has been awesome. Like and Anthony posted such a good video to remind people, like, if your fig doesn't taste like jelly, it's not ripe enough.
Yeah,
And that's the truth.
I see people harvesting figs, and they're almost dry inside, and they just no. Figs should look kind of not so good when you pick them.
Yeah.
Get those sugar spots on them when they start looking a little, and you're like, okay, and when it I posted one like it fell off the bird net when I was trying to get it off, and you're like, oh, this is a good sign. And you just bite it, and you're like, ha.
Yeah.
This is why I grow this.
It's tough beating the birds to them when you got to pick them a little early, and you bite into
that
it.
would be the only reason I do them early to these
Yeah.
squirrels and that are going to soon be in Austin, Texas. Once I get a hold of them.
Thank you. I will take care of them. We'll be good.
Yeah.
Have the net helped with the squirrels or just with the birds?
Yes.
Really?
Well, this is like I had a really good long doot fig that a squirrel just like manged in the net, like half of it, and I was like, do I bite it? Do I bite this fig? I didn't. I thought about it, but it was the better of the big ones, and they get so big. Anthony, and we've had this sunny weather, so I'm going to post the other ones because I think that it's still worth having a big fig around.
I've just had so much SWD this year because of all that rain from that tropical storm. It's been nightmarish. All of the container figs pretty much got ruined. Bad year for. The only thing that's held up is the Smith is on just a whole nother level. That if you can only grow one fig tree, that's the one to grow.
I've had SWD on my Smith before about 3 years ago.
You can, but it ripens so fast that you can
get away with it because of the hang time.
You only need 2 nice days to get Austin Smith figs. So even if you lose it, and it sets so many figs, and they're so good.
This is the best advice. The best advice I've heard. You'll need dachshunds. Dachshunds take care of the squirrels.
Are they that fast?
No, they're just that yippy.
They're that yippy. Oh man, I could manage dachshund.
You know what?
Or some rat terriers would be really good.
I think I need to admit to the fact that I do have a Snorky.
What's a Snorky?
He's a Schnauzer Yorkie.
Oh my god!
And he chases off the squirrels too for me. So it's not that I see.
Is his name Snorky?
His name is Louie.
Oh.
No, it's not. My dog, our dog that we lost was named Louie. We had a Louie.
Oh.
No, my little Louie. He's 10, I think 10 or 11 now. But he's a Schnauzer Yorkie mix, so he's got both the mouth and the attitude of both breeds, and also just the going after the
same mustache.
Breeds. Beard.
I had forgotten you had dogs. I just assumed you walked your chickens around the block.
And squirrels.
I have a 15-year-old boxer too.
She has indoor chickens, Anthony.
Oh God. How do the dogs get along with the chickens? They don't see them as like invading their territory, do they?
No, actually. So, well, here's the deal. I have a special needs chicken, and she has a crossbeak. She does. She's a crossbeak silky. She's broken her beak like so many times. It's a whole story. And she's wonderful, and she thinks she's a dog. But she is not just running around my house, like not,
I know.
Pants or anything, like literally. Anthony's just like, oh my God, that's so bad. But she's like less than 2 pounds. She's like,
oh my God, she's little.
She's very little.
Goodness.
She has like a very special like house in the house. She's very, very spoiled.
Yeah. I don't even want to know what my dog would do to chickens. It would not be good. It would not be good.
So all the chickens, they're if the chickens are outside and the dogs are outside, they don't mess with each other. The chickens will go hang out where the dogs are, and Tweety Bee in particular, she loves to be wherever Champ, my big boxer, is. And if he's like taking a nap in the sun, she's next to him, grooming herself or taking a nap. And they've never ever snapped at them or anything like that. I think sometimes Louie and Tweety try to play with each other. They'll like pop at each other, but it's never
Mhm.
aggressive. And I think it's just because when my first chicks, when I first got them, they were in a brooder box inside the house, and we just handled them a lot with the dogs, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're around them a lot, and I think it makes a difference in their raising. So I don't know, they're excellent with them.
I always wondered what would happen
Way.
with. I always wonder what would happen with my dog Dale and chickens if he'd allow it. But I think it would just have to be kind of like that. You'd almost have to start from chick and kind of raise the chick. Because I know if I
Around
just
him.
released a full-grown chicken in the backyard, it would be a two-toy within a matter of about 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
my
like,
God.
just like you, like, Dad, thank you so much for this snack on
Oh
wheels."
yeah.
That was
It's great. It
delicious.
can't
I'll have
actually
another.
fly away. It's great. I can chase it and it can't fly.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's amazing too, though, right?
And
A
my,
hound.
and
First dog.
my dog Duke is just a murderer out in the backyard. I gotta keep he doesn't go out in the backyard without me for a reason, because he goes after lizards, he goes after toads, he will paw and grab anything he can get his hands on, and he doesn't even eat them. He just lets them, he plays with them. It's yeah, so I
Growing
don't
up
let
with
him
my
outside.
dog, it was like we had voles in my yard growing up, and
Yeah.
we had rabbits, and so like it was in the pile of toys. It was like rope, tennis ball, vole, rabbit, tennis ball, rope. It was just like out there. Like, this is gross.
That's
I love
weird.
it.
I don't know. My dog has like a hierarchy of life where he won't like the toads or amphibians, reptiles. He doesn't care if it's an insect, if it's a lizard, if it's a toad. He doesn't care. He'll look at it and just be like, "Oh, okay, that's different." But if it's warm blooded, if it's if a bird lands in his yard, or if it's a squirrel or a rabbit or a possum, he'll lose his mind.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's territorial or
Yeah.
It really is, because we go on walks and he sees rabbits run by and he's kind of like, oh, well, look, oh, cool, rabbit. But if it's in his yard, he's, oh, not my
Yeah.
yard.
But so
Yeah.
you never have issues with squirrels then?
I'm almost afraid to say it, but I've never had an issue with squirrels. I have rabbits, I have possums, birds, unbelievable amount of insect problems.
You better knock on wood, dude. You're a knock on wood.
Yeah, my bad.
Well,
No.
the squirrels run along the fence and Dale chases after them, and then they don't come back.
Yeah. That's always my best advice for people who have squirrels or have issues like stray cats or whatever in the neighborhood. I had a bunch of stray cats for a long time here in my neighborhood, and I didn't care, but they were pooping in my raised beds. And if you've got a raised bed garden, I will tell you right now, you do not want stray cats pooping and using your beds as a toilet, because
No, why not?
it can cause a lot of what is it? Not parasite. Is it parasites or something with their
Yeah.
poop? Yeah.
All
cat
kinds of
poop's not good.
diseases and
You don't want to compost your dog poop. I've seen people do videos of that, and it's like, dude, don't do that, man. Don't do that.
also
Compost. I like that.
in the groundwater. It causes green algae. It's bad. We don't want it. Pick up.
Well, that's a big thing in North Carolina is we have a lot of CAFOs, and that's a bigger issue. That's not necessarily.
What is it?
CAFOs are like
feeding operations.
confined feeding operations.
We have a lot of chicken houses here, and you know it when you drive by.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so like and a lot of that gets flown into during rainfall events into the Cape Fear River, which flows outwards into the waterways, which can cause high bacteria levels. But and a lot of groundwater transit.
Yeah.
I
That's
just wanted
crazy.
do a callback real quick to that butterfly we were talking about, the zebra
Yeah.
longwing. This is what that butterfly looks like.
Whoa.
That's really unique. I don't think I've ever seen one like that before in person.
I see them a lot foraging on Lantana here in my
Really?
area. But they're a really unique butterfly, and they're not one you see a lot. And their caterpillar is super cool. It's like white with little black polka dots on it. And it also uses the passion vine in all its varieties for its host plant, which I think is so cool.
That
And
is
this
awesome.
one unfortunately twisted up in the wind as it was emerging and did not make it. And so I just, poor baby, I picked it up right then. And but
Oh,
it's really beautiful.
so you're not killing these by hand? I thought you were going and you were catching them and you were killing these butterflies.
No. These are hush.
Wait a
But
second.
no, actually,
that a
I
real
looked it up.
butterfly?
Des,
Is that
if
a
you
real
were a leopard,
butterfly or
Yeah.
art?
That's
so
real.
this is a real butterfly that I
She
picked up
collects
in
them.
my pollinator garden,
Ah.
zebra longwing. And I like find discarded butterflies all the time and bees and other things that are just, laying around the yard because I have such a big pollinator garden. Like this one
She
right
had a
here.
bunch of she has a bunch of carcasses in her house.
Oh, hush. No, these are so cool. Everybody uses their garden as their own personal experiment, and mine is just, I'm obsessed with pollinators. But this one is so cute. This butterfly, my husband gave it to me. He found it on the ground, just like laid out straight. And I decided that it would be really cute to have it, the inside of its wings and its face.
oh,
Like-
Dragon Lair just said that zebra wings feed on passion flower.
Yeah, they
And
do.
but cool. I planted a maypop, which is it's a passion flower, right?
Yeah, it's a passion vine relative.
So
And
I just planted one, and I'm excited to see maybe I get some cool stuff over there.
You better stay on top of that before it takes over. They can.
I
They can be,
put it away in my little there's a pergola space for it. Like I was told about that. I was cognizant.
Listen, right
like-
now, I posted a picture of it the other day. That thing is taken over my entire neighborhood. And again, I planted a super invasive variety.
Oops.
Serious. I did not know. I didn't know. I
So you're
planted
saying I
it
should dig it up now? So the loves.
I wouldn't put it. I wouldn't put it in the ground.
in 2017, and it never came up. And I was like, oh, thank goodness that thing never came up because like I planted the wrong variety. This one is very invasive. And then we had snowpocalypse. I don't know what that thing was doing below the ground. I don't, because I didn't see hide nor hair of this thing for 3 full years. And then we had that big snowstorm here in Texas, and then it came up with a vengeance, a glorious, passionate vengeance. And it has raised butterflies. It's been my favorite, but also most problematic.
Because I said the flowers are so beautiful on it.
The fruit is good too. Like mine is it has the edible fruit variety on it. And
cool.
I'm picking up all kinds of fruit off the
Well,
ground.
have you guys I was in Hawaii and I've had lilikoi, which is passion fruit, right? And it tastes like candy. It's unbelievable. It's so good.
Passion orange guava is also a very famous Hawaii combo.
Out of curiosity, what is the definition of snowpocalypse in Austin?
Oh my gosh.
You're telling two Northeasterners, you're like, snowpocalypse. You're like, okay.
It means it snowed at all. That's what it means.
2 hour delay.
Yeah, so
before the
like
buses
2
come.
inches, 3 inches, 6 inches.
No. It was like okay, so we had -5 or something degree temperatures with like
I remember in 2021. That was fun.
Is that how you spell it?
power. It was like
I don't know that's how you spell it.
Lilikoi, or whatever.
It looks
That
right.
sounds like Jamiroquai.
That was a big
No.
cat.
But yeah, it was like the great thing about it. I don't mind having a snow like that because that's just all the groundwater that's going to stick around.
No, sorry. How many inches was it?
I don't know. It was like I had like a 2-foot snowdrift.
It-
2 feet.
Wow.
Well, it wasn't that it was like a giant snowstorm. More than like nobody was prepared for it. That's what.
Yeah, we don't have the infrastructure for it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like,
neighbors.
you don't probably don't have any snow plows down there or anything to deal
It's
with
the
them.
same thing here.
We do now.
Right.
Yeah, well, not here. I don't know if we do here or not. I can't say.
Yeah, there was a big bill that went out. I mean, if the politicians didn't, embezzle most of it, it went to getting a lot of snowplows and stuff and putting out the salt trucks and everything like that. There was a lot of bills that went out. I know I've seen the parking lots where they store the snowplows and the salt trucks, but they probably don't run them until it snows. So they probably won't even start when they happen. So I mean,
Gotta start at once month. Even if
That's such a waste, spending all that money on equipment that's never going to be used. You're better off just taking it and overbuilding the power grid so everybody can just crank the heat. Hey, everybody, just take a couple of days off. Money better spent than on all that equipment that's just going to rust. It happens once every, 10, 20 years?
it's happening more and more frequently here, man. It's the winters are getting worse here, and the winters are getting colder more frequently, and the summers are getting hotter more frequently.
But still, it's 1 to 2 days a year.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. The problem is when people go out and they don't know how to drive in it. They don't know how to drive in it.
Away.
Yeah.
There's
No.
nothing you can do.
For sure. No,
we
because
don't
I mean,
have insulation for it in our homes. Like we don't have a lot of things that we're just.
Yeah.
When I saw your snowpocalypse, I thought mostly about people didn't insulate their pipes, and so you had pipes freezing and exploding. And I think
yeah. So nobody really knows how to winterize their pipes. A lot of our pipes and plumbing are run. Thankfully, mine are in PEX. So there's a lot of the houses have PEX now in newer homes. Mine are all in PEX, so they expand. But a lot of plumbing is ran in PVC into like the attic, and so it gets super cold and they burst in the attic.
Mhm.
So, but if you have PEX, you're usually good. PEX is fine. So yeah, no, it's just it was a lot of people weren't prepared, and the next time it happens, they won't be prepared either. So
I was prepared because I have anxiety.
oh, God. You're one of those.
Yeah, I
Oh my
am.
God.
Like, so it's
Oh
all
my God.
extra propane and stuff.
we're filling the bathtubs, honey. No.
Literally giving my neighbors firewood. I don't know.
Yeah.
One of those.
Well, that was like I moved down to North Carolina. It snowed like 6 inches in 2018, and like people didn't know what to do. And I was like, I'm gonna go get a coffee now, my Subaru. Like,
It was 3.5 inches. It was the longest duration period below freezing in the history of the area. So we got 3.5 inches of rain. It didn't get above freezing for
or snow.
days. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 3.5 inches of snow, but it didn't get above freezing for 2 days, which is like unthinkable here. So all of the roads completely turned into a sheet of 2 inches of compacted ice. And you literally could not go anywhere for about 4 days, 5 days maybe.
because there weren't snowplows. We just didn't have snowplows. They had to lease them from
Even
like.
if you
Virginia.
there was no infrastructure for it. The problem was the people that drove over it after it happened. So the first run of traffic was fine, but then on top of it, it refroze, and it just stayed that way for I'm telling you 4 or 5 days. You couldn't leave the house, I haven't seen cold like that here since.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I spent 4 years in Anchorage, Alaska, and and people up there don't even know how to drive in the ice most of the time. So I mean, it's
can't
never
drive in the ice. You can't drive.
Yeah.
Four-wheel drive doesn't help you stop.
Nope.
No.
That's the biggest issue. Stopping is always a problem.
Yeah.
And then the worst is when it on the roads in the morning it warms up, the roads warm up, and then the ice melts, and then it refreezes, and that's the worst part of it right there. So
This is why I bought property in Central Florida.
oh, you did?
I don't.
Just
I just don't
dodging
even
that
want-
whole thing.
I just don't even want the possibility of a snowflake, later in life.
Yeah.
Heat's one thing. Heat's annoying, but I always say heat's annoying, but cold kills. So
For sure. Yeah, you can always walk around naked. You can't do that in the cold. I mean, you can always, to cool down. Or do you plan on moving to Florida eventually, or like what?
I mean, eventually, I just want land.
Yeah.
It's the dream to actually have a real food forest that's like an acre of just. That's the dream.
Yep.
Oh,
Just be out in there all day, lose myself.
I would love that. That is
Yeah. It seems like no matter where, because Dragon Lair just comment this is hurricanes killed too. It's no matter where you go, you're going to deal with something.
But we get more hurricanes where I live than in the northeast coast of Florida. So,
right.
Believe it or not, the city of Jacksonville has never had a hurricane hit it in recorded history. Since records have been kept back into the 1800s, there's never been a hurricane that's hit Jacksonville or that area.
Wow, that's
well.
crazy.
You have to look at the way that the coast is. So the way that the coast sucks in on Florida, you can get hit below Cape Canaveral, and then if it doesn't hit Cape Canaveral, it's pretty much going to hit Charleston North, just by the way that it sucks in. So I think in all of recorded history, there's only been one hurricane that's ever hit Georgia coastally directly.
Yeah. Hey, what happened, Phil? What happened, man?
I got booted. Everyone started going really slow and it was all digitizing. And then it said like something wrong happened. I was like, let's get back.
I'm gonna probably have to get in my attic this weekend and run my Ethernet cable through like down to here. I don't know. I take full responsibility for the internet problems tonight.
Wait till I get down there and I'll just help you with it.
There you go. I'm not. I don't do well in tight, hot spaces, and my attic is like an easy bake oven right now. It is so freaking hot, dude. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, guys, I've had y'all. I've had Phil for 45 minutes, but I had the rest of y'all for an hour and 15 so far. I guess real quick, let everybody know where they can find you and what you got coming up. Des, what you got?
What do I have? Oh, I think I'm going to talk about mulch soon, actually. So I'm going to be starting my fall garden prep and also pruning for fall, some of my perennials, and I may even be planting some soon. So you can find me at Trimming with Des on all platforms, either one or two Z's. But yeah, everywhere.
Are you coming to Figtoberfest? That is the next question.
I really hope so. What is the date? One more time. October 5th?
Figtoberfest is October 5th. If you want to come a day early, we're going to go to Moody Gardens.
Yes.
In Galveston.
On the 4th and 5th.
On the 4th. Yep. Yes.
I'll tell you all about why I didn't come to the expo last week.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. No. Honestly, I was so busy I wouldn't have been able to hardly say hi to you at all anyway, so don't worry. Well, Mr. Phil, what you got going on? What you got coming up?
Oh, I have. So the Wilmington Hobby Greenhouse Club has their plant sale on September 6th and 7th down in downtown Wilmington. So I'll have my plant table set up there and helping out the Hobby Greenhouse Club. I'll be down. I'll be out to Figapalooza. That'll be in September, end of September. And then I will be down with you, Destin, in October, which is coming up, man.
Yeah, buddy. No, I'm excited, man. Figtoberfest is gonna be a blast. We're good. We're good. We
got it. That was a good save.
I know now when it goes black, I just pause and we keep talking.
So we just need to start learning to act natural.
Yes.
When I got disconnected, I paused and I was sitting there like, please work again. And then I got disconnected.
Ooh, come on.
My cheeks started to hurt.
Oh my goodness. Well, thanks as always, Phil. Better late than never.
Thank you for letting me be tardy.
Before you cut out, what was the date of that? Sorry, there was just a question in the chat.
Oh, so Figtoberfest. If you go to my Instagram page, and I think there's a flyer on my YouTube in the community posts. Figtoberfest is October 5th here in Angleton, Texas, just south of Houston. It's a free event. Me, Phil, the Fig Hunter is going to be here. We're doing it with the Texas A&M Ag Extension through their, your local extension agents. We're having free propagation classes. The Fig Hunter is bringing fig cuttings to show propagations like all morning long. We're going to have Fig Brew is providing us with Figgy. It's their coffee alternative. They're going to be providing with warm beverages. So that's going to be awesome. And we're going to have a bunch of giveaways, a bunch of raffles. We've got me and Phil doing some talks. And we've got some of the ag extension agents talking about local diseases, care, planning when you're going to plant them, and all kinds of good, fun fig facts. It's going to be an awesome morning of figs. We're going to go from about 8 o'clock in the morning to about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It'll be in the early October, so it'll still be fairly warm here in the Houston area. So we won't go it starts getting 2 or 3 o'clock. It gets really hot. But it's going to be awesome. The city of Angleton provided us a big outdoor event space, so bring your lawn chairs, and it's going to be an awesome day. But we're bringing Phil in, and the day before I got it from my friend Danita at Moody Gardens. She's going to give us a tour of the rainforest pyramid, and it's going to be awesome. And there's a lot of ficuses in the rainforest greenhouse, including the Bodhi tree. Ficus, or is it Ficus religiosa, is the largest. There's banyan trees, so we'll be able to point out a lot of figs in the actual rainforest.
Yeah, it's the tree that the Buddha came into enlightenment under, right?
It's huge too. It's crazy big, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. And the Figtoberfest is completely free as well, and you will leave with the tree. You will leave with a fig tree, 100%.
That's
awesome. Because I don't have one.
Yes, you will definitely leave with the fig tree. I'm actually
Des, message me your contact. I know, Des, message me your stuff. I'm just gonna send you one.
Oh my god!
Imagine how fat your squirrels would be.
Arid summers. You have the most arid summers out of all of us by far. You could grow such good figs compared to what we can grow here. We're suffering through this humidity. You have this nice dry summer. You don't have a fig. Oh!
Your squirrels will thank you. Your squirrels will thank you.
That'd be the best. My house is already their favorite.
Well, we will remedy that. Hopefully you can.
It'll be a reaffirmation.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get you down here for Figtoberfest, Des, since you're not that far from us.
I know I need to come and hopefully not be shameful about it and have a fig. I'll be like, yeah, here's my fig. It's
there you go, 100%. And we'll be doing some live streams with Phil and making a bunch of content in the process. We have 3 days to make a whole year's worth of content, including an intro theme song video for the podcast. So I don't have to play the guitar every entry. So
you let me know. I got the uke right here.
I bought one specifically so you wouldn't have to bring yours. So it'll be here when you get here, Phil.
Okay. You just let me know.
Perfect, dude. Well, Anthony, you let us know what you got coming up, man. I'm sure everybody in the chat already follows you, but just let everybody know what you got coming up and what's up. What's going on?
What do I have coming up? Oh, I mean, it's fall garden planting season, so it's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm kind of in that weird space where I just planted tomatoes, but I'm also going to start some lettuce seeds. And I'm going to start my broccoli and cabbage probably in a week or two. So it's just kind of that nice time of year where you're really looking forward to being able to garden outside and less humidity without all the mosquitoes and the other bugs, but the sun's not setting at 5:02, So
right.
It's a really nice 8-week period that you really want to take advantage of.
Oh, for sure. And how you put out video? How many times a week do you put out videos?
Monday and Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern.
There you go. So be on the lookout for that. I definitely want to watch I saw a fertilizer video you put out recently that I want to check out. So it's on my queue to watch this weekend.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Well, I thank all of you for being here. Thank you for everybody in the chat, and we will see y'all next week.